the voice that launched 1,000 bands and spoke over the intro of 1 million records. In every way, Dave Fanning epitomized rock and roll, as his close friend and fellow broadcaster Jerry Ryan recalls.
Dave, even in death, will have groupies. Dave's groupies, however, are not women. They're a sad type of middle-aged man who grew up listening to Led Zeppelin.
Funny enough, I happened to look the wrong way when I heard that. One thing one never did at night on the radio, you might do it in the daytime, because there was even, you'd get singles that daytime people would play and it'd say like something 23 seconds. In other words, you can talk for 23 seconds over the intro before the vocals come in.
Yeah.
At night time on the radio, you play the song. You stick the needle down, or these days CD or whatever it happens to be, and you put it on, and you don't talk over the intro. That's completely uncool.
Bizarre.
So I didn't talk over the intro.
My predominant memory of you is talking over the intro record. Okay. There's kids all through the 80s who used to tape stuff off the radio.
So what people always wanted to do was tape an hour of some good music and get rid of Fanning.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I know that one very well.
Don't break your heart in this one.
Yeah, I know that one very well.
And instead, all they got was, at the start of every record they got was, we'll take this, then the news. Or at the start of every, it should be, you could release a compilation track called We'll Take This, Then the News. And it'd be 40 songs with you interrupting the introduction of it.
Well, I don't remember doing that, but if I did, then I stand accused.
Yeah, that's not an apology, really, is it?
No, it's just an explanation for the fact that, you know, the mind is slightly addled. I am old, remember? You know, it's my obituary. I'm dying. I'm dead.
You're dead. You finally grasped the concept of what we're doing here.
Right,
yeah. Do you know what the tune was, by the way?
That was definitely a song from The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Do you know what it's called?
I'm not scared of dying, you know. I mean, I'm not scared of dying, you know. That's what he says, yeah. It's called, I don't know, forgotten.
It's called The Great Kick in the Sky.
The Great Kick in the Sky. Do you know who the vocalist is on that track?
I don't.
Claire Torrey.
Wow.
There you are, and nobody knows that.
Are you reading the excitement in my face, Dave?
It's a brilliant track. It's just what she goes, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, we might have a bit of that later on. Like
oh, really? Well, that's her.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you have people coming up to you with music trivia stuff all the time, by the way? Do people expect you to know all the stuff that you've been playing?
They do, yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's a lot of people, when you meet, anywhere you go around the country, you say, Dave, you played our demo once, but you probably don't remember the band, knowing that, like, what they mean to say is, I know you will remember it, and they say the name of the band. I haven't a clue who they are. Never heard of the band. I can't remember playing it at all. But that's the way it should be, you know? It's ephemeral stuff, and ephemera is good.
Okay, cool. The other thing, of course, I'm intrigued by, do you get hassled a lot by musos, let's say, like lads with...
You see, the word hassled is a loaded word in some ways. It's not hassled. You get approached. Yeah. And yeah, everywhere you go, yeah. Oh, yeah, and like demo tapes and all that sort of stuff in particular.
Did you, for a long time, be the patron saint of guys who, you know, lived through their record collections, like that kind of people for whom music was everything?
Well, you see, the thing is that if you were doing the programme at night, that was the alternative programme or the John Peel programme or whatever, then that's the kind of stuff. You were the lump of whatever, and they were the flies, and they whatever, you know, they gravitated towards you, and that's the way it was. That was part of the gig, which I thought was great. I loved it. I loved being that lump. Whatever, you know what I mean? It's cool.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's carry on with the obituary.
Sure.
Fanning grew up in a loving family home in Dublin.
He lived at home for a long time, for far too long, I would say. He lived at home longer than Jesus, basically. His mother was a great woman. She was so good, he actually didn't want to leave home, so I think he probably had to be thrown out and the locks changed before he ever found a flat.
But when in the 70s, the 60s finally happened...
We'll get back to that in a second, right? What age were you when you left home?
That's about right. I would have been very old. See, as I say, the youngest of 7, it's very easy to say there. I went to Mount Marion National School, Kilmacud National School, Blackrock College and UCD, and I lived on Foster Avenue all my life, and those who know their Dublin will know that there's Clonskeys to Lorgan Road, whatever that far road at RT is, and then Foster Avenue. It's just one side of UCD, which is about, what, like, you know, a quarter of a mile from RT. Yeah. So everywhere I sort of did my things, and so it was much easier. I had more fun, and it was more like a Rathmines flat, my house, than anybody living in a Rathmines flat when I was at UCD, because it was all up to Dave's, all hours of the night, and the parents, like, they had 7 kids, that's it, they didn't really care, you know what you did. So we did.
So what age were you when you left?
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer that, yeah. Let me think, what age was I? I suppose that was, did she say Jesus? Jesus was 32, 33, I was about 2 years before that, about 30, yeah.
About 30?
And I wish I'd stayed till 40, I loved it. It was great. The mammy, it's fantastic.
But, you know, Jerry mentioned about the groupies there. Was that not a bit awkward, you know, like, hey, I'm on the radio, do you want to come back to me ma's house?
Well, you see, the thing about it is, the first few years in the radio, one of the problems was I started in 1979. In fact, I did 2 years in Paris before that. So from 77 to 1984, I was working from midnight till 2 o'clock in the morning. So, to be perfectly honest, there was nobody else around at that time of night. There was myself and Ian Wilson going back to the house, waffling away about the programme. That's about the size of it. So at that time of night, it wasn't really like that at all. I'm talking more of the student days.
Let's see how the rest of your career developed then.
The 60s finally happened in Ireland. Dave took up the cause of documenting the decade in the aptly named Scene magazine. When he quit the magazine, he set sail with pirate station Radio Dublin in 1978, where he quickly made waves. In 1979, RTE responded to the Pirates' popularity by copying their format and stealing their presenters. Fanning jumped ship to join the national broadcaster's new pop station, Radio 2. He quickly established himself as a fresh voice for new music.
No, I wasn't at all surprised when I heard he became #1 disc jockey. He's very good.
I reckon he's a good overall DJ. He plays different sort of music than is normally on.
Because when he arrived on national radio, it was the burst through of the Irish new wave post-punk scene. And it was the rise of people like U2, with the rebirth of Thin Lizzy, the Undertones and Stiff Little Fingers. He was at the forefront of that.
But it was the...
If there was anything about any of that kind of stuff at all, when it came to 2FM, Ian Wilson had, if not as much, more to do with it than I did. Because I was the DJ. You see, like, you know, as a DJ, you know, you're not on staff. You could get kicked out just like that at any given stage, at any time, as people do, and as people have done, as I could easily have done. Whereas Ian had a bit more sort of stability. He was a staff member kind of thing. And Ian came in as... I don't know what the word is, but he came in as kind of crazy as I did in terms of RTE had all these facilities, and they had brilliant facilities which were used for orchestras and things like that, you know, which is great, nothing wrong with that. But they could just as easily be used on the off days for new things like bands. Now, if you think that the RTE, those who ruled the place, would want spotty little 17-year-olds coming in with loud guitars every Monday afternoon, messing up the place, it was a difficult thing to do, and Ian just swiped through the red tape. He didn't cut through it. He swiped through the thing and just made sure it happened. And oddly enough, the very first band we actually had in for a session was U2. I had been playing them on Pirates and all that before that, but it's just that Ian was 100% responsible for that, not me.
What was the pirate scene like?
I had a great time. Absolutely loved it. I started off in... I just did it for that Scene magazine thing. We did an article on one of the pirates on Radio Dublin, and then they asked us to do a programme, and there was nobody listening at the time. Pretty soon afterwards there was Raids, and then we were on the front page of the papers. It was fantastic and all this. And then Big D came along, and there was Raids and that too. And you'd be in the middle of town at 12 o'clock at night till sometimes 6 or 7 in the morning with a bunch of records, not getting paid anything, and it didn't matter, and it was all cool. I was living at home. I didn't need to be, you know, furnishing a flat, so it was totally doable. And on that level, it was just great, just playing records all night, knowing there was a few more listening. And the more publicity we got on front pages for being rated, the more people would listen again and again. And it was just cool, and it was just right, and a few different venues around town. It was fantastic. I loved it.
And how did you take the change to being a civil servant?
Yeah, that was it. I'll tell you one thing. The biggest single change about being a civil servant that I really hated was the fact that in Pirates, I just realised for 2 years, even though that picture might belie that, I never sat down once. I stood up all the time in front of the microphone, and I had to sit down in RTE. That really annoyed me.
What do you mean you had to sit down?
Well, I mean, you felt like you had to, there was a seat in there, and Val Joyce had been in earlier, so you can't, you know, just kick Val's seat out of the way.
You could have moved the seat for
you can't, no, because then the microphone doesn't go up high enough, and it's screwed down more, and you felt as though you had to sit down and be a proper presenter as opposed to a pirate DJ. And the sitting down thing really freaked me in the first 2 weeks. I hated it. Because when you're standing up, there's much more going on. There's coffee and there's lights.
Yeah, of course, you can see the energy and all that kind of stuff, like whatever. I mean, if you feel free, you can stand up now.
No,
just stand if you want.
There's no need. Remember, I'm dead. So,
this is true, actually, yeah. But you couldn't have moved it, like, I mean, other than that, like, whatever. Did you have to go in a suit? Did you feel that you had to kind of...
No. Shea Healy, I think it was never trust a man in a suit. Sorry. But, yeah, I realised that. No, did you call that a suit? No, the thing is, I didn't. No,
but Louis Copeland does, and that's
I never... No, I never worried about anything. You never have to worry about anything.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Did
you feel sad because you're on radio anyway? For
yeah, exactly. That's one good reason that you didn't need to worry. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's have a listen to, because I think there's more of the Fanning sessions now.
But it was the Fanning sessions which became his greatest contribution to the domestic music scene. Masterminded by his lifelong producer, Ian Wilson, the sessions allowed unsigned bands to record a demo tape in RTE studios, which he would air on his late-night show.
For a long time, if you really wanted to get into music at all, the only person you could talk to was Dave. He was really, you know, the one-stop shop for getting into the business.
The notion of a fanning session, which is where unsigned band comes in and plays it, does that not feel like a long time ago now?
Not particularly, no. I mean, like there's 1,000 bands out there. I mean, as somebody once said, unemployment brings out the guitar in everybody. There's so many. And in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of unemployment. And there was a lot of bands. And
but are they not all just doing their own fanning sessions at home now, with like an iMac or something?
There's a bit of a difference between a fanning session and doing a fanning session at home. A fanning session means that we have to play the thing whether we like it or not.
True,
Like, you know, in other words, National Radio plays it twice a month, and it was just one, like, there's a ladder, and they're starting out down here, and up there is whatever. And the first rung was often us. I mean, Wilson, he did it all. He really did. Yeah. And the first rung was that, maybe 40 to 50 sessions a year. A band that might be around in March and gone by June, but the session they did in April, so long as it was good, I you know, I'm not the mother of the guitars. It's not my problem if he's unemployed in 3 months' time. I don't care. So long as the session's good, you know. That's all I cared about.
Okay, we'll let that roll.
It was destiny that one of the bands he encouraged would go on to greater things. From 1981 comes this intriguing snippet of a young wannabe.
We did a session with him and it was very interesting.
However, it was another band, The Hype, who, following a well-advised name change, became his most famous protégés.
If you're associated...
The U2 thing has kind of been, it's one of the things that, you know, this is your obituary. It's one of the things that'll be written on your tombstone, as if you had actually discovered U2, like whatever. Does that, you know, do you feel slightly guilty even if you're fighting it that much, like, do you find yourself just...
No, I mean, the U2 thing was just, it was just, the thing I liked most about U2 at the time, in the very, very early days, was I liked them as people. I mean, at the time when they started out, and they haven't changed as much as they should have, considering the madness they've lived through over the last 20 years. Because I've had snatches of it in all parts of the world, and I've seen it for 2 and 3 or 4 days. So that's just 2 or 3 or 4 days. What in the name of Jesus is 2 or 3 or 4 years like of this? And they're so remarkably normal and cool, etc. And they were then as well.
But you still, I mean, actually, tell you what, let's just see what they say about you here.
If you're associated and an integral part of the biggest artist band ever to come out of the island, it's something to be proud of, I reckon.
He was the first man in our audience.
They would never forget him. Whenever U2 had a record to unleash, it was Dave Fanning who always got it first.
But he kept his afro and he kept his club.
As his career grew, his enthusiasm for music never waned. A trait which his close friend and fellow broadcaster Jerry Ryan recalls.
I suppose Dave would be remembered as somebody who had absolutely and utterly no ability to understand the concept of being paid. I recall many years ago sitting at a bar in Agios Nikolaos in Crete with myself, Fanning and Pat Kenny, and both of myself and Kenny were working up our master plans for fleecing the nation and the licence payer. Both of us have succeeded admirably in that endeavour. Dave, however, held the opinion that he would do it for nothing, and till his dying breath he would have done it for nothing.
I have to stop it there. You go on holidays with Jerry Ryan and Pat Kenny. Do you have like a big bus with RTE written on the side of it, like there?
No, yeah, I went on holidays many times with Jerry and Maura and myself and Ursula, who I'm married to, and still am, and was then. And when you're talking about those Greek ones, because the time Pat Kenny came along, it's a very long story about that one, but I won't go into the whole thing. But I do remember, like, Pat Kenny wasn't with us, and he just heard that we were in this place, and he knocked on the door of our place, and I remember Ursula opened the door. He had never met Ursula, and he said, you know, is Jerry Ryan and Dave Fanning here? He says, yeah. He says, who are you? Which even like in '88, considering he'd done so much TV. Yeah, we had great fun. We had a fantastic time.
Okay, we'll let that roll.
Oh, geez, I better get it back now.
In the 90s, Fanning's relentless ambition saw him venture further afield into the world of television.
Dave, I wish you'd take me seriously.
It seemed there was little that he could not turn his hand to.
I'm going to take up ballet lessons.
But it was the wider palette of popular culture that intrigued him. Fanning broadened his horizons and became an important voice in cinema.
Who the hell are you telling us what movies to watch?
I'm not telling anybody what movies to watch. That's the one thing, like that word film critic or whatever. It was an entertainment program. It was talking about movies and it said, oh, what the hell, so I might as well give my opinion on it. It's just one opinion, you know. So stop trying to say I'm some sort of a film critic or some sort of a know-it-all or some thinking I can tell people where to go and not to go. I can't, and I don't, and I won't. It was an entertainment program first and foremost, and then 10% informative, or whatever else you want to call it, educational or whatever. It was just entertainment. That's what I think movies should be.
Well, I have been properly slapped like a bitch now.
Absolutely.
Well, were you a particular big movie fan, were you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, all my life, that's what I was, movies and music.
You've interviewed just about everyone, I presume, at this stage, have you?
There was a thing in one of the magazines I just mentioned there, in Empire magazine, of the 50 most famous people in terms of the front of the camera and that. And I'd interviewed 43 of those one-on-one with some of them, so that was really cool, yeah.
Anyone particularly entertaining or any particularly difficult or troublesome or horrible? Or
no, I should have somebody. I should make it up, should I?
No, I mean, because I remember reading somewhere, I can't remember, with Mel Gibson or somebody that you said?
Oh, no, Mel Gibson can be, like, Mel Gibson comes across as a whatever, kind of cool guy and all the rest of it and that. I've interviewed him 5 or 6 times. In fact, this sounds good. In LA, New York, Lisbon and somewhere else, and all the times he was a pain in the ass. Not so much a pain in the ass, he's very ungiving in an interview, really. He's not as good as you think. I remember I saw a Clive James thing on TV where he drove around lots and that. He was with him for 5 or 6 days, smoking cigar in cigar clubs and all that. That was some guy he had to be nice to because he was with him, or else he likes him. I don't know which, or they're both Australian. Actually, they're not. Mel Gibson's from New York. Not many people know that. Anyway, the point is...
He went to Australia.
He went to Australia, yeah. Because his father didn't want him to fight in the war. And the rest of the family...
Nicole Kidman isn't Australian either.
Is she not?
Nope.
Didn't know that.
Born in America, then went over.
Really? There you are now. There you go. Anyway, point is... But some people are really good and they know exactly how to do it. And when it gets into a bit of an argument, or like Keanu Reeves, of all people, who would ever have expected that he'd be good? He was brilliant. Those kind of things. But, you know, it depends. You know, Cameron Diaz was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, we can imagine, yeah. Let's let this roll.
Where his motor-mouth delivery gained him instant attention from the major movie stars of the day.
Sorry about that. A cup of tea. Go on.
Talk so quick.
He has actually no taste whatsoever in movies. He's strictly a car chase man.
One of my problems is I like too many, so I will actually get out a Dolph Lundgren box set and watch the whole thing, which is really not very sight and sound, but there you go. You know.
Oh my God, Dolph Lundgren is a box set at this stage, is it?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're a fan of DVD, I presume?
Yeah, although I don't necessarily, I'm not that great in all those extra things. It's like 12-inch mixes of a single, or at least, you know, like extra mixes of a single or something like that. I just like what I was given first, and that's it. I mean, I do like a director's cut now and again of certain things, but all those extra half-hour things, I don't necessarily...
Well, what about the move from, like, when vinyl went and CD came in? Was there a party that died, not the whole notion of walking around with all the CDs, the big gatefold sleeves?
Absolutely no question. There's a part of me that's still dead about that. Vinyl is 10 times better than those horrific CDs. I mean, the feel of a, like, second last track side 2, you know where it is and you can stick the needle down on it. And when you're talking to other people, you really can get into, oh, it's the last track side. There's no thing, it's number 9, number 16, number 12. What the hell is that about, you know? Oh, yeah, vinyl.
It's exactly the same.
No, it's not.
the same piece of music, right?
No, it's not. It's completely different.
Crackle,
absolutely.
crackle, crackle.
Yeah, the crackle is so much part of it. It's like the Stella Cinema in Marmara I went to all the time. There was a hole in the curtain. If that hole wasn't there, it wouldn't have been the same thing. It's real.
So in other words, if you've been raised by going to cinema where a man would sit beside you and poke you repeatedly in the side of your face, like whenever you go, it's part of the experience.
No, I didn't say that. No, I said the things that were there that remind me.
But the crackle is irritating.
Oh, the crackle is all. But look how many CDs start off with a crackle now. Thousands. It's the cool sound to have.
Yeah, for nostalgic Egypt like yourself.
Exactly.
Exactly. Beautiful, crystal clear sound. You should be happy with it. Like, the art alone, I suppose, is a good enough reason.
Pop art. I mean, where did it start? It's album covers, not CD covers. It's the thing. It's the size. Yeah, it's the opening up. It's the learning the number at the back of it. You can't do that on a CD.
Learning the number at the back of it.
That's a bit sad, actually. Yeah. And also, when you dropped it, the damn thing didn't smash into 100 pieces.
Depends how far you dropped it from.
That's true.
Yeah. The movie thing as well, like whatever. I mean, how many TV shows were you doing when you were? There was a point when you were doing every TV show.
There was, yeah. But like they were easy. Like the two TV was Sunday morning, 2 hours live television. I'd arrive in at 5 to 11. It was on at 11. I'd leave at 1:05. I didn't. You know, it was done by other. It's just, and that was the way it should be. Like, cause I'd laugh at the whole thing because I was playing chart music.
We scoured. Back to TV. We scoured 2TV to find some examples of the exceptional broadcasting you did. Let's just roll this on like whatever.
So there's none.
He didn't particularly help me in any way. He just kind of allowed things to happen.
You go right ahead, Bianca.
Well, his famously frenetic delivery transformed itself into a studied nonchalance which captured perfectly the nation's disillusion with the Celtic tiger.
Was that not nice?
No, there's some funny stuff, cinnamon or something in it.
Picking your teeth, all right?
I used to have my breakfast on that thing every morning. The guys here did it for me. It was great. I had all these. It was actually the props. By halfway through the program, the props were gone.
Okay, I'll give you the devil's advocate argument, which I'm presuming you've heard already, which is you doing 2TV was you selling out from guitar bands and.
Well, listen, do you know something? In 1994 or 5, they were talking about doing some new rock program on television, and I was going, okay, yeah, whatever. Let's just take this. So I was doing the movie show, and I was doing Virgin Radio in London at the time, and all the rest of it as well. So I was doing a lot of things, and I've heard at the same time as they asked me to do that this Sunday morning program called Beatbox was possibly not necessarily up for grabs, was going to change or whatever. And I said, I'd much rather do the Boys Own program than do the obvious rock program that I'm going to do. In other words, have a program on where I can slag every second video, and enough students will kind of like that in some ways, and the kids who love it, from the under-14s who watch, won't give a damn if I slag it or not, so long as I play it. And that's the way I saw it. I said, I'll do it for a year or two. I ended up doing it for 5 years, and I thought maybe it stretched out a bit at the end, but that's one of the reasons I did it. Just something different, and I loved it. It was absolutely great fun.
How do you feel about Boys Own now?
I love them. I wish they'd get back together.
Are you holding your breath waiting for that, are you?
Absolutely.
You'll be the front row at the point, jumping up and down?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love them.
Okay, that's what this is. You're lying, you know. I know you're lying.
No, I'm not.
He will be missed by everyone who's ever put the wrong CD on.
I think there's loads of people who wouldn't have succeeded without Dave. Not only that they wouldn't have made it as bands, but I don't think it would have occurred to them to do whatever they did. I don't think it would have occurred to a lot of people to form a band if he hadn't been there.
I've always found it very hard to think of Dave as either a DJ or a broadcaster. He was just a man with a box of records.
His greatest achievement is that there can be no last word on Dave Fanning.
Dave has shaped broadcasting in a way that's almost, in fact, is unnoticeable.
It's a terrible thing.
Would you be happy that would be your epitaph now?
Oh, God, yeah, of course I would. Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's a few bits and pieces of things I'm sure I could want to put in there. But I mean, everybody's been very cool, and everybody's been terribly nice. Jim and Ian and Anita and Jerry and all the rest of them. And Tom, cool, you know. Like,
yeah, they're all being lovely.
They're all being very nice. Are they as nice as that with other people in this series?
No, they're not. You're the only one we couldn't get anyone to say a bad thing about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I can't stand you. I couldn't stand the show at 8 to 10. 8 to 10 every night. You've actually...
Sorry.
Oh, you're not a man who takes criticism well, are you? No. To trash the studio and destroy the place, like whatever. We're going to have to reinvest in another button for the rest of the series for this one.
That's all right.
Dave. Thanks for bringing your rock and roll anger to the place. Like, why don't you take it with you and trash a hotel room? You can throw it into a swimming pool when you're done. Like, Dave Fanning, it's been a pleasure to have you. I'm glad you're happy with the way you're being remembered anyway.
Thank you very much.
You are back in the world of land and delivery, like whatever. That's all from Buried Alive. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Fanning.
Thanks, Dara.